Valeria adjusted the straps of her elegant black dress as she stood in front of the expansive mirror in her small apartment. The reflection staring back at her seemed almost foreign. The soft fabric hugged her curves in a way that felt both empowering and intimidating. At 19, she was still figuring out who she was, but tonight was a chance to step into a world that glittered far beyond her everyday life as a college student. The charity gala was held in an opulent hotel downtown, a place where the rich mingled with the ambitious, where dreams felt palpable, and where wealth was showcased like art. Valeria had received an invitation through her university, and she had decided to seize the opportunity. Her heart raced with anticipation as she stepped out into the cool night air, her heels clicking against the pavement like a countdown to something monumental. As she entered the grand ballroom, the atmosphere was electric. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a warm glow over the crowd dressed in designer gowns and tailored suits. Valeria felt a rush of excitement mingled with nerves. She was a fish out of water, but she was determined to swim. She scanned the room, taking in the lavish decorations, the clinking of glasses, and the laughter that echoed around her. This was a world she had only seen in movies, and now she was part of it. "Valeria, over here!" a voice called out, pulling her from her thoughts. It was her friend and fellow student Clara, waving enthusiastically from across the room. Valeria smiled and made her way toward her, feeling a mix of comfort and exhilaration. Clara was confident and outgoing, the perfect companion for a night like this. "Wow, you look stunning!" Clara exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with admiration. "Are you ready to have some fun?" "I hope so," Valeria replied, her voice bubbling with excitement. "This place is incredible." As they navigated through the crowd, Valeria spotted a man standing alone near the edge of the dance floor. He was older, perhaps in his 70s, with silver hair that was neatly combed back and a tailored suit that spoke of wealth and sophistication. There was an air of confidence about him, a magnetic presence that drew people in. Valeria's curiosity piqued, and she found herself watching him as he engaged in conversation with a group of guests, his laughter deep and inviting. "Who is that?" Valeria asked, nudging Clara with her elbow. "Ah, that's Ricardo Alvarez, the millionaire philanthropist," Clara replied, her tone laced with awe. "He's quite the legend. They say he built his fortune in real estate and has been involved in more charities than I can count. Some people say he's a genius, others think he's a recluse. Either way, he's definitely someone to know." Valeria's heart raced at the thought of approaching him. She had always been ambitious, yearning for more than her modest upbringing could provide. Meeting someone like Ricardo could open doors she had only dreamed of. "Do you think he would talk to me?" she asked, half joking, half serious. "Why not? Just be yourself," Clara encouraged, giving her a playful shove. "You've got this." With Clara's encouragement, Valeria straightened her back, smoothed her dress, and made her way toward Ricardo. As she approached, he turned, his deep-set eyes locking onto hers. There was a moment of silence, as if the world around them faded away. "Good evening," Valeria said, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "I'm Valeria. It's an honor to meet you." "Ah, Valeria," he replied, his voice rich and warm. "A pleasure indeed. You're here for the gala, I assume?" "Yes, I am. It's my first time at such an event, and it's breathtaking. You've certainly outdone yourself." He chuckled, a sound that resonated with a hint of nostalgia. "I wish I could claim credit for the beauty of the night, but I simply help fund it. The real magic lies in the generosity of those who attend." Valeria felt a spark of connection. It's inspiring to see someone use their success to make a difference. "I've always wanted to get involved in philanthropy, but didn't know where to start." Ricardo's eyes twinkled with interest. "It's never too late to start. Sometimes all it takes is a little passion and a willingness to learn. What are you studying?" "I'm majoring in business with a focus on social entrepreneurship," she replied, her ambitions bubbling to the surface. "I want to create something meaningful, something that can help others." "An admirable goal," he said, a hint of admiration in his tone. "You remind me of my younger self, so full of fire and dreams. Tell me, what drives you?" Valeria's heart raced. No one had ever asked her such a personal question at a gala. I want to prove that success doesn't have to come at the expense of others. I believe we can build businesses that uplift communities." Ricardo nodded thoughtfully, his expression serious. "You have a wise head on your shoulders, Valeria. Pursue that dream fiercely. The world needs more visionaries like you." Their conversation flowed effortlessly, and Valeria was captivated. Ricardo spoke of his early days, the struggles he faced, and the lessons he learned along the way. She was enchanted by his charisma, the way he shared stories with such passion, as if each word was a brushstroke painting a vivid picture of his life. He was not just a millionaire, he was a man of experience, a man who had seen the world and understood its complexities. As the night progressed, Valeria found herself laughing and sharing more of her dreams with Ricardo. He listened intently, his gaze unwavering, making her feel like the only person in the room. It was a heady sensation, and she could feel herself being drawn deeper into his world. "Would you like to join me for dinner sometime?" Ricardo asked, a hint of mischief in his eyes. "I know a lovely little restaurant that serves the finest cuisine." Valeria's heart skipped a beat. "I would love that." As they exchanged numbers, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something extraordinary. Little did she know the road ahead would be filled with unexpected twists that would challenge everything she thought she knew about love, power, and herself. Later that night, as Valeria lay in bed, she reflected on the evening. She felt like she had crossed a threshold into a new chapter of her life, one filled with possibilities and uncertainties. Her heart fluttered at the thought of seeing Ricardo again, but beneath that excitement lay an undercurrent of apprehension. He was a man of the world, and she was still finding her place in it. Would she be able to navigate this new territory without losing herself? Only time would tell. Valeria stood at the edge of the bustling cafe, her heart racing as she observed the interplay of laughter and conversation around her. The sun filtered through the large windows, casting a warm glow on the polished wood tables where her friends were seated. They were animatedly discussing their weekend plans, but Valeria felt a pervasive sense of disconnection, like a ghost floating through a vibrant reality that she no longer fully inhabited. "Val, are you even listening?" Her friend Mia's voice broke through her reverie. "Sorry, I was just thinking," Valeria replied, forcing a smile. "Thinking about what? That old man you're dating?" Mia teased, her brow raised in mock disbelief. "Ricardo is not just some old man," Valeria shot back, a hint of defensiveness creeping into her tone. "He's interesting, successful, and rich," Mia interjected, a smirk playing on her lips. "That's the real draw, isn't it? What do you even have in common with him?" Valeria felt a pang of frustration. "We have a lot in common. We both love art, music, and—" "Yeah, but he's 75, Val. You're 19. When your friends are talking about their crushes, you're discussing estate taxes and stock options," Mia said, her voice turning serious. "You have to admit it's a little strange." "Maybe, but age is just a number," Valeria insisted, although doubt crept into her mind. "He's not like anyone I've ever met. He treats me like I'm special." Mia exchanged glances with their other friends, who nodded sympathetically, but looked unconvinced. "Just be careful, okay? Older men can be manipulative. I don't want you to get hurt," Mia said, her tone softening. "I can handle myself," Valeria replied, though she felt a chill run down her spine. The concern in her friends' voices echoed in her mind, leaving her unsettled. As the conversation shifted to lighter topics, Valeria's thoughts drifted back to Ricardo. Their connection felt profound, unlike anything she had ever experienced. When they were together, he made her feel seen and understood. But the growing tension of her friends' concerns gnawed at her, leaving her with a sense of unease. Later that evening, Valeria found herself in Ricardo's lavish penthouse, the city skyline glittering like a sea of stars outside the expansive windows. She ran her fingers over the sleek marble countertops in his kitchen, marveling at the luxurious lifestyle he led. The air was thick with the scent of gourmet food as Ricardo busied himself with dinner preparations. "Can I help?" she offered, stepping closer. He smiled, his eyes twinkling with warmth. "I've got it, my dear. Just enjoy the view for a moment." She watched him work, mesmerized by the way he moved with grace and confidence, a man completely at ease in his own skin. The clattering of pots and pans filled the silence, and Valeria felt a sense of comfort wash over her. "Have you ever thought about how different our worlds are?" Valeria asked, her curiosity piqued. Ricardo paused, looking up from his work. "In what way?" "You know, your life, your past. It's so different from mine. I'm just starting out, and you've accomplished so much." He turned off the stove and leaned against the counter, his expression contemplative. "Life is a series of choices, Valeria. Each decision we make leads us down a different path. Sometimes we gain and sometimes we lose." A shadow crossed his face, and Valeria felt an urge to comfort him. "What did you lose?" she asked gently, her heart racing as she anticipated his answer. Ricardo sighed, running a hand through his silver hair. "I've lost many things over the years, loved ones, opportunities, time. But I've also gained wisdom." Valeria's heart ached at the thought of the emotional burdens he carried. "You can tell me anything, you know. I want to understand you better." He smiled faintly, but she could see the flicker of hesitation in his eyes. "Perhaps one day I will share more of my past with you, but for now let's focus on the present." Despite his reassurances, Valeria couldn't shake the feeling that there were parts of him he was keeping hidden. She was determined to help him heal, to peel back the layers of his guarded heart. As the evening wore on, they shared a lovely dinner, filled with laughter and stories. But Valeria felt the weight of her friend's concerns pressing against her heart, a constant reminder that their relationship existed in a realm of complexity she had yet to fully understand. Days turned into weeks, and Valeria found herself grappling with the mounting tension between her burgeoning feelings for Ricardo and the nagging doubts that her friends had planted in her mind. She spent more time with him, attending galas and exclusive events that showcased the opulence of his life. Each moment spent together felt like a whirlwind, an escape from her reality, but the world outside their bubble began to loom larger. One afternoon, Valeria decided to take a walk in a nearby park, hoping to clear her mind. As she strolled along the tree-lined paths, she couldn't shake the feeling of being torn between two worlds. She missed the simplicity of her college life, where her friends were her priority, and their conversations revolved around dreams and aspirations. "Valeria!" a familiar voice called out, and she turned to see her childhood friend, Leo, jogging towards her. "Hey, Leo," she greeted, her heart lifting momentarily. "I haven't seen you in ages. What have you been up to?" he asked, his brow furrowing with concern as he noticed her distracted expression. "Oh, just busy with school and things," she replied, her voice trailing off. "Things? You mean that guy you've been dating?" Leo asked pointedly. Valeria hesitated, feeling a mix of embarrassment and defensiveness. "His name is Ricardo, and he's a great person. You'd like him. Is he the one older guy you're always talking about?" Leo's tone shifted to one of disbelief. "Val, you're 19. What do you even have in common with a guy who's 3 times your age?" "He's not just some old guy," Valeria insisted, her voice rising. "He's smart, kind, and he's been through a lot. I'm trying to help him with his past." "Help him? You're still figuring out your own life. What if this is just a phase? You're going to lose yourself in this relationship," Leo warned, his eyes filled with concern. Valeria felt a surge of frustration. "Why does everyone keep saying that? I care about him. Can't you just be happy for me?" Leo ran a hand through his hair, exasperated. "I'm just worried about you, Val. I don't want to see you hurt when he inevitably moves on. Older men can be complicated." "Complicated or just misunderstood," Valeria retorted, crossing her arms defensively. "You don't know him like I do." "Maybe not, but I know you. You're smart and ambitious, and you deserve someone who can match that, not someone who's living in the shadows of his past," Leo said softly, his gaze penetrating. Valeria felt the truth in his words, but she couldn't bring herself to admit it. "I need to go," she said abruptly, turning on her heel and walking away, her mind racing with conflicting emotions. As she returned to the comfort of Ricardo's estate later that evening, she felt a sense of conflict brewing. She wanted to believe in the love they shared, but the doubts lingered like dark clouds overhead. "Valeria, "Is everything all right?" Ricardo asked, noticing her somber expression as she entered the room. "Yeah, just had a long day," she replied, forcing a smile. "Come sit with me," he said, patting the seat beside him on the plush couch. She settled next to him, her heart heavy with unspoken thoughts. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," he replied, his eyes attentive. "Have you ever been hurt in a relationship? Like really hurt?" Ricardo's expression shifted, a shadow crossing his features. "Yes, I have. Love can be a double-edged sword." "Do you think it's worth it?" she pressed, her voice barely above a whisper. He took a moment to respond, his gaze distant. "Love is beautiful, but it comes with risks. You must be willing to embrace both the joy and the pain." Valeria's heart raced as she contemplated his words. She wanted to believe that their love could transcend the complexities of their age difference, but the weight of her friend's concerns hung heavily in the air. "Ricardo, do you ever think about your past, about what you've lost?" she asked, her voice trembling. He looked at her, a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. "Every day. But I choose to focus on the present, on what we have now. You are my light, Valeria." His words warmed her heart, yet the shadows of doubt still lingered. As the evening wore on, Valeria found herself wrestling with the reality of their relationship. She needed to know more about the man she was falling for, to understand the depths of his heart and the secrets that lay buried within. Determined to uncover the truth, Valeria resolved to delve deeper into Ricardo's past. Valeria stood in the hidden room, her heart racing as she examined the faded photographs scattered across the walls, like silent witnesses to a life-long past. Each image seemed to whisper secrets, a haunting narrative of joy and heartbreak woven together. She could feel the weight of Ricardo's history pressing down on her, a suffocating blanket that wrapped around her mind, thoughts swirling like autumn leaves caught in a tempest. She took a deep breath, her mind racing. What did these photographs mean for her? What did they reveal about the man she had begun to love? The moment felt surreal, a dream she couldn't wake up from. Just then, she heard footsteps approaching. Valeria turned, her heart pounding as Ricardo entered the room, his expression a mixture of surprise and dread. "Valeria," he said softly, his voice tinged with concern. "I didn't expect you to find this place." She crossed her arms, trying to mask the turmoil inside. "I found your hidden room, Ricardo, and I found these." She gestured to the photographs, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions within her. "Why didn't you tell me about your past? Who are these people?" Ricardo sighed, running a hand through his hair, which shimmered silver in the dim light. "I didn't want to burden you with my history. It's complicated, and it's painful." Valeria stepped closer, her eyes searching his. "But it's a part of you, isn't it? I want to know you. All of you." He looked away, his gaze drifting to the images on the wall. "These photographs represent a life I've tried to leave behind. A life filled with love, loss, and mistakes." "Then tell me," she urged, her voice a mixture of frustration and compassion. "Share your story with me. I can't be in this relationship without understanding who you are." He took a deep breath, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I lost my first wife, Elena, a long time ago. She was my everything. We had dreams, plans, but life took her away from me. I was devastated. After her passing, I threw myself into work, trying to forget the pain. I've had relationships since, but they never felt right. I guess I was afraid of losing again." Valeria's heart ached at his vulnerability, but the shadows of doubt crept in. "And what about these other people in the photographs? Who are they?" Ricardo's expression darkened. "Those are remnants of my past. People I loved. People I lost. Friends and family who drifted away after Elena's death. They became ghosts in my life, reminders of what I had lost." "Did you love them?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "But love isn't always enough. Sometimes it's the memories that haunt you, that keep you from moving forward." Valeria's heart raced at the weight of his words. She felt a mixture of empathy and fear. "And what about me, Ricardo? What am I to you?" He met her gaze, his eyes filled with a blend of longing and regret. "You are a light in my life, Valeria. You remind me of the joy I thought I'd lost forever, but I worry that my past will overshadow our future." She took a step back, letting his words wash over her. "I want to help you heal, but I can't lose myself in the process. I have dreams, ambitions." "Your dreams are important," he said, pleading with her. "I don't want to hold you back. I don't know how to let go of the past." Valeria felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "You have to be honest with me, Ricardo. I can't build a future on secrets." He reached for her hand, his grip warm yet trembling. "I promise to be open with you, but I need time to face my demons." As Valeria stood there, her heart torn between compassion and uncertainty, she realized that their relationship was not just about love. It was about navigating the intricate web of their pasts. Would she be able to remain true to herself while helping him heal? Days passed, and Valeria found herself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Ricardo's stories echoed in her mind, intertwining with her own ambitions and dreams. She loved the man who had introduced her to a world of luxury and charm, but she also felt the pull of her own aspirations. One afternoon, she met her friend Mia at a cozy cafe, hoping to find some clarity. As they settled into a corner booth, Mia eyed her with concern. "You've been distant, Valeria. What's going on?" Valeria sighed, stirring her coffee absently. "It's Ricardo. I found some old photographs of his past, and it's like I've stepped into a different world." Mia raised an eyebrow, leaning in closer. "What do you mean?" "I mean, he has this entire life before me, filled with love and loss. I want to understand him, but I'm starting to feel overwhelmed." "Val, you're only 19. You have your whole life ahead of you. Are you sure you want to dive into the complexities of his past?" Valeria frowned, feeling the weight of her friend's words. "I care about him, Mia, but I'm afraid that I'm losing myself in this relationship. I haven't focused on my studies or my friends. It's like I'm slowly disappearing." Mia reached across the table, squeezing Valeria's hand. "You need to prioritize yourself. Don't lose sight of who you are in this whirlwind. Your dreams matter too." "I know," Valeria whispered, her heart heavy. "But I don't want to abandon him either." "Have you talked to him about how you feel?" Valeria shook her head. "Not yet. I'm scared of what he might say. What if he thinks I'm not committed?" Mia frowned, concern etching her features. "Valeria, commitment shouldn't mean sacrificing your identity. You deserve to express your needs too." As they talked, Valeria felt the stirrings of clarity amidst the confusion. She realized that while love was important, so was her own growth and happiness. She needed to find a balance, a way to support Ricardo while still nurturing her own aspirations. The next evening, Valeria sat across from Ricardo in the grand dining room of his estate, the table adorned with exquisite china and flickering candles. The atmosphere felt heavy, as if the walls themselves held their collective breath. She could see the worry in his eyes, a reflection of her own turmoil. "Valeria," he began, his voice low and serious, "I sense that something is troubling you. What's on your mind?" She took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about our future. I want to support you and be there for you, but I also need to focus on my own goals." His brows furrowed with concern. "You're not thinking of leaving, are you?" "No, it's not that," she hurried to explain. I can't lose sight of who I am. I want to be with you, but I also want to pursue my passions, to finish college and build a career." Ricardo's expression softened, and he reached for her hand, his grip firm yet gentle. "I understand. I've been so wrapped up in my past that I didn't consider how it might impact you. Your dreams matter immensely." Valeria felt a surge of relief at his acknowledgement. "I want to be there for you, Ricardo. I care about you deeply, but I also need to be true to myself." He nodded, his gaze unwavering. "I promise to support you in your ambitions. We can navigate this together, find a balance. I don't want to hold you back." As they spoke, Valeria felt the weight of uncertainty lift just a little. Perhaps their love could coexist with their individual aspirations. Maybe, just maybe, they could heal together while also allowing each other the space to grow. Yet, in the back of her mind, the haunting images from the hidden room lingered, reminding her that the path ahead would not be easy. Their journey was fraught with complexities and shadows, but Valeria felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. She had chosen this love, and she was determined to make it work, to embrace the beautiful chaos of their intertwined lives. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the sprawling landscape, Valeria found herself sitting on the terrace of Ricardo's luxurious estate during their weekend getaway. The air was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine, and the soft sound of waves crashing against the cliffs below created a serene backdrop. Yet, despite the picturesque scenery, a storm brewed inside her. The photographs she had discovered in that hidden room haunted her thoughts, stirring a mix of curiosity and fear. She had always known there was more to Ricardo than met the eye. His tales of adventure and heartbreak had painted a picture of a man who had navigated life's complexities with charm and grace. But now, as she stared out at the horizon, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was merely scratching the surface of a much darker narrative. "Are you enjoying the view?" Ricardo's voice broke through her reverie, smooth and rich like the aged whiskey he favored. She turned to see him approaching, a glass of red wine in hand, his expression a mixture of concern and curiosity. "It's beautiful," she replied, forcing a smile. "But I was just thinking about those photographs." Ricardo's demeanor shifted instantly. The warmth in his eyes dimmed, and a shadow passed across his features. "Those photos, they're part of a past I'd rather not revisit," he said, his voice lower now, laced with a hint of defensiveness. "Why not? You can't just hide from it, Ricardo. You've shared so much of your life with me. And yet, there's this whole part of you that feels locked away," Valeria pressed, her heart pounding. She knew she was treading on delicate ground, but the urge to understand him outweighed her fear. He took a deep breath, running a hand through his silver hair, a gesture that had become all too familiar to her. "Valeria, I've made choices, terrible choices, that have led to pain and loss. I don't want to drag you into the darkness of my past," he replied, his tone somber. "Dragging me into it? I'm already here, aren't I? I care about you, and I want to understand. Please just tell me about your marriages. What happened?" Her voice softened as she implored him, hoping to break through the walls he had built around his heart. Ricardo looked away, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "My first marriage was complicated. We were young, filled with dreams, but life has a way of shattering those dreams. We lost a child, and it changed everything," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I became consumed by grief, and in turn, I pushed her away. She deserved more than I could give." Valeria's heart ached at his words, the weight of his sorrow palpable in the air between them. "I'm so sorry, Ricardo. I can't even imagine what that must have been like." He turned to her, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It was my greatest failure. I lost the love of my life because I couldn't confront my own demons. After that, I married again, hoping to fill the void, but it was just a bandage over a wound that never healed. That marriage ended in bitterness, and I was left alone once more." Valeria felt her heart race, a mix of empathy and fear coursing through her. "But you're not alone now." "I'm here, Ricardo. I want to be here for you," she said, stepping closer, reaching out to touch his arm gently. He shook his head, pulling away slightly. "You don't understand, Valeria. I'm not the man you think I am. I'm filled with regrets and haunted by the ghosts of my past. I don't want to burden you with my history." Why is it a burden? I want to know you, all of you," she insisted, frustration bubbling beneath her calm facade. "If we're going to make this work, we need to face the truth together." Ricardo sighed deeply, his expression a mix of pain and resignation. "You're so young, Valeria. You have your whole life ahead of you. I don't want to be the reason you lose your chance at happiness." "Maybe you're underestimating me. I'm not afraid of what you've been through. I want to help you heal, just as you've helped me discover a part of myself I didn't know existed," she replied, her voice strong yet tender. He looked at her, his eyes searching as if trying to gauge her sincerity. "You think you can handle the weight of my past?" "I think I can handle the truth," she said, her voice steady. "But I can't do that if you keep shutting me out." After a long pause, Ricardo finally nodded, a small gesture that felt like a victory for Valeria. "All right, but it won't be easy. You may not like what you hear," he warned, his voice heavy with the weight of impending revelations. "Just tell me," she urged, her resolve unwavering. They settled into the plush chairs on the terrace, the sun now a faint glow in the sky. Ricardo took a moment to gather his thoughts, the silence stretching uncomfortably between them. "My first wife, Clara, was everything to me. We were young and in love, but tragedy struck when we lost our child, a daughter. It was a grief that consumed us both. I became a shell of the man I once was. I buried myself in work, thinking it would somehow bring me peace, but it only drove her away," he began, his voice thick with emotion. Valeria listened intently, her heart aching for the man before her, a man who had been shaped by loss and regret. "Clara wanted to talk about it, to grieve together, but I couldn't face it. I couldn't confront my own pain, and in doing so I lost her," he continued, his voice breaking slightly. "What about your second marriage?" Valeria asked gently, sensing the rawness of his memories. "It was a mistake from the start. I thought I could find solace in another person, but I was still broken. I hadn't healed from the loss of Clara. My second wife, Sophia, was wonderful, but I was emotionally unavailable. I couldn't give her what she needed, and it ended in a bitter divorce. She accused me of using her as a distraction, and perhaps she was right," he admitted, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Valeria's heart raced, torn between compassion and fear. "Ricardo, you can't keep running from this pain. You deserve to heal, but you won't do that if you keep pushing everyone away," she said softly, her voice filled with concern. "I know that now, but it's easier said than done. The fear of losing someone again, it terrifies me." "I don't want to drag you into my chaos, Valeria," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. She reached out, taking his hand in hers, feeling the warmth of his skin against her own. "I don't want to be dragged into chaos either, but I want to face it with you. You don't have to go through this alone," she said, her eyes locked onto his. Ricardo looked down at their intertwined hands, a flicker of hope igniting in his chest. "You truly mean that?" he asked, his voice wavering. "Yes, I do. But I need you to promise me that you'll be honest with me from now on. No more secrets, no more shadows," she replied, her heart racing as she waited for his response. He nodded slowly, a sense of determination washing over him. "I promise, Valeria. I'll do my best to be open with you, but please understand this is a process. I may falter, and I may not always have the right words," he cautioned. "I'm not looking for perfection. I just want to understand," she reassured him, squeezing his hand gently. As the last rays of sunlight faded away, giving way to the dark night sky, Valeria felt a sense of clarity. The journey ahead would be challenging, but she was ready to face it. Together they would navigate the complexities of love, loss, and healing. As they sat in silence, the weight of unspoken truths began to lift, allowing a sense of hope to bloom amidst the shadows of Ricardo's past. In the dimly lit study of Ricardo's estate, the atmosphere felt heavy with unspoken words. Valeria sat across from him, her heart racing as she observed the man who had captivated her with his charm and wealth. The flickering flames of the fireplace cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating an ambience that seemed to amplify the tension in the air. She had demanded honesty from him, and now it was time for him to deliver. "Valeria," Ricardo began, his voice low and measured, "there's something I've kept buried for a long time. It's about my first marriage, and the betrayal that shattered it." He paused, his gaze drifting to the floor, as if the weight of his past was too heavy to bear. Valeria leaned forward, sensing the gravity of the moment. "Please, Ricardo, I need to know," she urged, her voice barely a whisper. He took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "Her name was Clara. We were young and in love, much like you and I, but I was ambitious. Too ambitious, perhaps. I was so consumed by my work that I failed to see the signs. Clara felt neglected, and she confided in a close friend of mine, a man I trusted. His voice trembled slightly as he recalled the memories, the pain evident in his eyes. "What happened?" Valeria pressed, her heart aching for the young man he once was. Ricardo clenched his fists, the knuckles turning white. "That friend betrayed me. He seduced Clara while I was away on business. When I returned, I found them together. It was devastating." He looked up at Valeria, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "The trust I had in people was shattered that day. It's why I've built walls around myself. I can't bear the thought of being vulnerable again, of letting someone in only to be hurt." Valeria felt a rush of emotions, sympathy, anger, and an overwhelming urge to comfort him. "Ricardo, I had no idea. I can't believe someone would do that to you." "You didn't deserve it," she said softly, reaching across the table to touch his hand. He flinched at first, but then allowed her fingers to rest on his. "I thought I had moved on, but every time I feel myself getting close to someone, that fear resurfaces. I push people away to protect myself." His voice cracked, revealing the deep-seated vulnerability he had concealed for so long. Valeria's heart ached for him. She understood now the complexity of his nature, the layers of pain that shaped him. But as she listened to his story, another thought began to gnaw at her, a fear of her own. Was she merely becoming a caretaker for his emotional wounds? Would she lose herself in the process of trying to heal him? "Ricardo, I want to help you, but I can't be your therapist," she said hesitantly, unsure of how to voice her concerns without pushing him away. "I'm still figuring out who I am. I don't want to lose myself in your past." "I understand," he replied, his voice steadying, "but I want you to know that I'm trying. I want to be better, not just for you, but for myself. You've brought light into my life, Valeria. You've helped me see that there's still hope." The sincerity in his words touched her deeply. Yet as they sat there, she couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. The weight of his past loomed over her, threatening to crush her spirit. "Ricardo, what if I can't heal you? What if I can't be the person you need?" she asked, her voice trembling. He squeezed her hand tightly, searching her eyes for assurance. "You don't have to be anyone but yourself. Your presence is enough. Just being here with me. It means everything." Valeria nodded, but the doubt remained. As the evening wore on and the shadows grew longer, she felt the walls of his past closing in around her. She needed space to think, to breathe. "Can we take a break?" she asked quietly, pulling her hand away. "I need to process everything." "Of course," he said, his expression shifting to one of understanding. "Take all the time you need." Valeria stood up, her heart heavy as she left the study. She wandered through the sprawling estate, her mind racing with questions. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was on the brink of something monumental, something that could either bind them together or tear them apart. Later that night, as she lay in the guest room, Valeria stared at the ceiling, lost in thought. Just as she began to drift into a restless sleep, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a message from an unknown number. "Valeria, you don't know me, but I have information about Ricardo. You need to hear this." Her heart raced as she read the message, a wave of anxiety washing over her. Who was this person? What information could they possibly have? Was it about his past? A chill ran down her spine as she considered the implications. She stared at the screen, her mind racing. Should she respond? Should she ignore it? The uncertainty gnawed at her, a sharp reminder of the precarious position she found herself in. After what felt like an eternity, she decided to reply. "What do you know about Ricardo?" Valeria hit send, her heart pounding as she waited for a response. The minutes stretched on, each tick of the clock echoing in the silence of the room. She felt a mixture of fear and curiosity. What if this was the key to understanding the man she had fallen for? Or worse, what if it was a revelation that would break her heart? Finally, a reply came through. "Meet me tomorrow at the cafe on 5th. I can't say more over text." Valeria's mind raced with possibilities. She could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on her. Should she confront Ricardo with this information? Or should she keep it to herself for now and see what this stranger had to say? As she lay back against the pillows, her thoughts spiraled into uncertainty. The delicate balance of her relationship with Ricardo hung in the balance. and the mysterious message loomed over her like a dark cloud. She had to choose her next steps carefully, for the truth could shatter everything she thought she knew about the man she loved. Valeria sat in the dimly lit cafe, her heart racing as she awaited the arrival of the sender of the mysterious message. She had agreed to meet Thomas, a former associate of Ricardo, after he had reached out with alarming information about the man she thought she knew. The air inside the cafe was thick with the aroma of ground coffee and baked goods, but Valeria felt a knot in her stomach that no amount of caffeine could alleviate. As she fidgeted with her phone, a tall man with graying hair and a weary expression approached her table. He looked to be in his late 60s, dressed in a tailored suit that spoke of a life well lived but burdened with secrets. Valeria had seen a picture of him in the message that Thomas sent, and she recognized him immediately. "Valeria?" he asked, his voice low and cautious. "Yes, that's me," she replied, forcing a smile as she gestured for him to sit. "Thanks for meeting me." Thomas settled into the seat across from her, the weight of his presence heavy in the air. He glanced around the cafe, as if ensuring they were not overheard, then leaned in slightly. "I wish I didn't have to tell you this, but you deserve to know the truth about Ricardo." Valeria's heart raced. "What do you mean, what truth?" Thomas took a deep breath, the kind that signaled he was preparing to unveil a painful reality. "Ricardo isn't the man you think he is. He's made a fortune in ways that aren't exactly legal." Valeria felt her stomach drop. "What do you mean? He's a businessman, yes, but he's generous, and he's always supported charitable causes." Thomas shook his head, his expression grave. "It's much more complicated than that. He's been involved in shady dealings, bribery, manipulation, and worse. He built his empire on the backs of people he's hurt, Valeria. I was part of it once, but I left when I couldn't stomach it anymore. I thought you should know before you get in too deep." Valeria's mind raced, images of their time together flashing before her eyes, the laughter, the moments of vulnerability, the love she thought they shared. "But why would he hide this from me? Why would he let me fall in love with him?" "Because he knows what he's done," Thomas replied. "He fears that if you found out, you would leave him. He's terrified of being alone again after losing his wife." "His wife?" Valeria's voice barely rose above a whisper. "What happened to her?" "Tragic accident," Thomas said, his tone softening momentarily. "But he was involved in things that contributed to her death. It's complicated, but he's been running from it ever since, trying to cover it up with charity work and lavish gifts." As Thomas spoke, Valeria felt the ground beneath her shift. She thought she knew Ricardo, thought she understood the man who had captivated her heart, but now doubts gnawed at her, and the image of the man she loved began to crumble. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "What do you want from me?" "I just want you to be safe," he answered earnestly. "I don't want you to end up hurt like so many others. He's charming, Valeria, but there's a darkness in him that he won't show you until it's too late." With her thoughts in turmoil, Valeria left the cafe, her heart heavy. She paced the streets, trying to process everything Thomas had revealed. The sun began to set, casting long shadows against the buildings, mirroring the darkness that had seeped into her heart. That evening, she found herself at Ricardo's estate, her mind racing as she prepared to confront him. She needed answers, no more secrets. The thought of him lying to her felt like a betrayal that cut deeper than she could have imagined. When she stepped through the grand entrance, the familiar sense of leather and polished wood enveloped her, but they brought her no comfort. She found Ricardo in his study, perched in his leather chair, flipping through documents. His glasses perched low on his nose. He looked up and his face lit up with a smile. "Valeria, you're here," he exclaimed, rising to greet her. "How was your day?" "Ricardo, we need to talk," she said, her voice firm as she crossed her arms. The warmth in his eyes dimmed slightly, replaced by a flicker of concern. "Of course, what's on your mind?" he asked, his tone shifting to one of caution. "Thomas reached out to me," she began, watching his reaction closely. "He told me about your past, about your business dealings. I need you to be honest with me." Ricardo's expression hardened, the smile vanishing from his face. "Thomas? I should have known he'd come crawling back. He's always been a loose cannon." "Ricardo," she pressed, feeling her heart race. Is it true? Have you hurt people to build your empire? Are you hiding the truth from me? He took a step back, his eyes narrowing. Valeria, you must understand. Tomas has his own agenda. He was a part of a world I've left behind. I've changed. I've dedicated my life to philanthropy. Philanthropy? She echoed incredulously. Is that what you call it? Hiding behind charity while you've ruined lives? Please let me explain, he urged, his voice rising with frustration. I did things I'm not proud of, but I've spent years trying to atone for my mistakes. My late wife died in an accident that shook me to my core. I've tried to create something good out of the wreckage of my past. Valeria felt torn, the man she loved standing before her, pleading for understanding, but the shadows of doubt loomed larger. You never told me about your wife, about what happened. Why would you keep that from me? I wanted to protect you, he admitted, his voice softer now. I wanted to shield you from the pain of my past. It's not just about me. It's about the legacy I'm trying to build in her memory. The foundation I created is in her honor. I thought you would understand. Tears brimmed in Valeria's eyes as the weight of his words hit her. So you thought lying would protect me? I don't want your money, Ricardo. I want honesty. I want to know the man I'm with. His gaze softened, and he stepped closer, reaching for her hand. I never wanted to hurt you, Valeria. I thought if I showed you the good I was doing, it would outweigh the darkness. I was wrong. I see that now. In that moment, Valeria realized that love was not just about the grand gestures or the luxurious lifestyle. It was about facing the truth, no matter how painful it might be. She took a deep breath, feeling the anger and hurt begin to dissipate as clarity settled in. Let's start over, she said, her voice steady. Let's be honest with each other. I want to understand your past, but I need you to be open with me. Ricardo nodded, his eyes reflecting a mixture of relief and fear. I promise, Valeria. No more secrets. We'll face this together. As they stood there, united by their shared scars and the weight of their secrets, Valeria felt a glimmer of hope. Their journey would not be easy, but perhaps together they could navigate the complexities of love, healing, and redemption, forging a new path that honored both their pasts and their future.